Welcome in 29ers. Chase Matheny here from the mothership back in Houston, Texas, where it's like Houston chilly here, Terry. It's like gotten into like the 50s this week and stuff like that. And like I haven't really been out a whole lot. But I'm sure you have the people that are just breaking out their hardcore cold weather gear, like when you live in these warm weather cities, right? Like temperature drops below 60 and you see people freak the hell out. I don't know. Is it that way like out at the beach where you're at?
I would say so. Yeah. I've even found myself the last couple of winters needing, an extra layer or maybe wearing that hoodie when it's, 60 degrees instead of 50 degrees. I think my
Mm.
thresholds are changing the longer I live down here.
You thinned your blood out, they say, right? Like I don't know. You miss like the cold weather in Maine at all, or is that one of those where it's just like, nope, not a thing. Like don't care, don't need snow, don't need whatever.
Not at all. I don't miss it at all.
I've always lived in like warm weather places. Like I had like a period I lived in like the DC area, but DC is not that like cold. It's kind of a swamp, they say. But yeah, I've never really lived in like the hardcore cold weather cities. And I think because of that, I've always wanted to. Um, let me be clear though. I have no interest in scraping off a car. I feel like that's the one like winter weather thing that I really have done that I don't like going out and having to prepare your car so that you can get in it is for the birds. Anyway, yeah, it's a competitive cribbage podcast. Sorry, we're here talking about the weather, but from what I understand, I want like a sounder here, be like one of these old like shock DJs like the 90s. Like Terry, you said you have breaking news. I literally don't know what this is that you're about to bring up to me. So whatever this breaking news is, those of you listening, watching, you are going to get a real time reaction. The swings of what this could possibly be, like I don't know. So please go ahead.
This is where I'd love to joke. I'm gonna be a dad, but no, it's not that.
Oh wow! Okay.
Hence,
Hope your
hence the
folks
reason
aren't listening.
I prefaced it. Yeah, yeah. So I decided I've been wrestling like over, do I want to keep this job? Do I not want to keep it? I'm just bored with it. I hate being in the truck all day, not being physically active. You're hauling containers. It's not a stressful job by any means, but it's just monotonous and quite frankly boring. So I put my notice in on
Oh, all
Monday.
right.
And I gave them 5 weeks, though. I'm not like a 2 week notice type of guy if I can avoid it. If I like the company. And the last company I was in Maine, I had worked there my last 8 years up there. I gave them a 1 year notice. And
Ooh,
so,
1 year. Okay.
so yeah, that's because they were like family. And I don't know. I gave them early. So anyway, so what will result from this is I've extended my Reno trip to do Topaz.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna room with Jacob French the whole week basically. And Topaz is before Reno this time, so that's interesting. So I've already been out there for probably since Sunday. So when are you getting to Reno?
I think I get in on like Wednesday, like uh
Okay.
like Wednesday morning, something like that. I need to check my flight stuff, make sure I have it all set up. I know that in Reno this year there is a new event, right? They have a Thursday
12
tourney
gamer.
now, 12
Yeah.
gamer, which I here I'm all for because I remember like thinking about sanctioned events and bang for the buck in Reno, and it's like it's one main and one con. Like this is not like no, but let me be clear. Rick and Peggy Shea and the cast of God only knows how many people do a fantastic job out there. That don't take this as me like complaining about an event that is a really, really, really great event. But yeah, sometimes it was like, oh yeah, well, you miss in the main and the con, and it's like, well, I got no points out of this weekend, which is a bummer. But yeah, no, it'll be cool to do that one. So I'm not going to do quite as much as you, but I congrats on your decision. Like I'm all for people not staying in things that don't make them happy. Like I am team like give jobs no notice because so many jobs you hear about, like you give them for. I don't think I've ever quit a job without notice. But like there are so many jobs now where when people put in notice, they'll screw over the person, right? Like put in notice and they're like, no, you can go now. And it's like I've seen too many of those stories on the internet where it's like, nah, do I think you owe them anything? Like, and if my employer is listening, I would never do such thing. Like the I would give a year's notice or a decade's notice or something like that. But all right, right on.
Yeah, one more thing though. I'm probably gonna well, 50-50 at this point. I'm gonna play the Roadrunner in Phoenix.
Okay, all right. We're pondering doing like a big Airbnb house, like with the Houstoners that are. So you can hop aboard that one if you want to. I know sometimes hotels out there can get a little sneaky expensive, but you know,
We'll see. I'm typically more of a small crowd guy, so
it's funny. Like last year when we did it, a prominent West Coast player who shall go unnamed reached out
uh-oh.
to me about combining houses, and I think I said to said person, their group is a little too partiers for my group,
Okay.
and I respectfully declined. Like yeah, so I don't know, I'm not a party house type of person. Like,
Me either. Yeah.
yeah, like, more power to people that if they want to tie one on, have a few drinks, do the things, right? Like, I do enjoy, I don't drink very much anymore, but I enjoyed like side games when you'd have a couple of beers and you start smack talking while you play.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. Especially if you ever play Captains. Do you ever play Captains? I don't think we ever talked about Captains on this show.
I actually did play it in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Captain's Cribbage, for those that don't know, it's a three-player version of the game, and you play 2-on-1, and the one starts in hole 60. I think it's 60 and not 61. I'm not 100% on that, but I
You're
think you start in hole
correct.
60. And usually when you do it, you do like a round. So like each person takes a turn being the captain, if you will. And yeah, those are a lot of fun. There's a lot more like, pegging traps and things like that that the two can do. But I feel like more often than not, the captain loses. It's a little tougher, but that is my favorite of all the like the side game. I like that more than Canadian. I like that more than like, I don't know. I've seen some weird stuff like six players, all that other things, but captain's my preferred like side game.
Yeah. I I think we played a few games. The one game where I was the captain, I lost in the dead hole. It was painful.
Ooh, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that one's no good. It is fun, like just and you do some money elements of it and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do a show at some point on like the side games, the variations. We've kind of talked about these things, but like I've heard stuff about, right? Like you throw after the cut, or I think Voldemort has mentioned once before, one he likes is once a game you get to call for a recut.
Oh.
So like, great, if you have like 4, 5, 5, 6, and then like the 8 cuts, you can go, okay, recut, the one time. So I don't know. Keep those in the inbox, cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. How was the Thanksgiving break for you? Was it good? Like,
Um, it wasn't bad. I was supposed to have Friday off, and initially they gave it to us, and then on noon, apparently the phones at the office started ringing, and we all got put on the road. So a little
ooh.
annoyed with that. Yeah, but
Did that come into your? I not to the reporter in me is coming out. Did that factor into your decision at all, or did you at least get like holiday pay for it or anything? Or
yeah, we did. I was a little annoyed. I mean, maybe it hastened it, but I was looking at Reno as well. I have to either keep this job or just commit to doing only Uber through Reno because it's hard for
Mhm.
me to walk into a new job and say, "Hey, almost
I want a
immediately,
week
I
and a
need a
half
week."
off. Yeah.
And then I would have to pitch the rest of my tournament schedule. But after Reno, the first 3 months, I only need a Friday off, assuming it's a Monday through Friday job.
So it's like
So,
slow season for you.
it is. So that's a good way to ease a new company into, my cribbage schedule. So I'll work on all that later on, but yeah, but I figured I'd add a couple, more tournaments in, before I have to get a real job again.
Okay. Until you become a professional cribbage player, right? That's make that one work at some point. I wonder if at some point that is ever a thing in, like, 500 years from now or something like that, right? Like, it's I think that's what everybody within our little, like, community of, like, the, I don't know, 1,000, there's, like, 6,000 people in the ECC or something like that. If that number ever grows and becomes, like, giant and it becomes like a poker situation, right? Just explodes one day like poker did back in the day. Um, I feel like that would be a cool thing if there were ever, like, professional players. Like, I know, Eric Glock says it's profitable endeavor for him. I don't know if there's anybody else really on the planet that is, like, profitable in this game.
Well, I'd check with Voldemort because if he's not, then probably not.
Well, it's like when you can. I guess it depends on, like, where you live and the travel expenses to get to events. Like, I know for me, I don't care how good I play, it's pretty impossible, right? There's just not enough stuff I can, like, drive to, and, like, prices are not what they used to be. Shoot, even Southwest. Southwest was my preferred, like airline, and I feel like even they're going down the tubes. Like, it's just not my favorite anymore. So, well, anyway, but yeah, send the variations, send your travel stuff, cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. Mine was generally okay at holidays. Like this is a good off-air story for you that will, again, just trying to hawk this, like, special premium tier where you get the off-air show, to those wanting to hear. But it's not unless you pay the big bucks do you get access to that one. But we've got some good stories for you there. Trying to think anything else. Well, hey, like I said, man, good luck. And, like, are you gonna go into driving, like, after cribbage season, like, slows down, or are you gonna try to, like, shift, like, industries, or what do you have anything in mind? Like, you're gonna, go be, besides a professional cribbage player, like, any, you're young enough, you could, like, kind of do anything.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, honestly. I mean, Uber is the great fallback. I can make really good money in Myrtle Beach doing that. So, it's not a permanent thing, but I don't know. We'll see. I got a few months to think about it.
Okay, all right. Well, keep us all informed. I'm still grinding away at the office. Jason shows up. It's always funny. Like, you know, it, just have all these meetings, like, virtually and stuff like that. And every once in a while, I'll have, like, a corny, like, salesperson makes me turn on my camera and this and that. And, like, I'm like, ugh, I mean, like, brush my hair today and this and that. I wonder if, like, one day I'll ever have an actual, like, office job again. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. So I don't have a smooth transition this one, but for the fantasy draft this week, again, before we start getting into, like, hardcore actual cribbage stuff, I don't really see a good, like, way to weave this into cribbage. But you said play-by-play announcers, which I think is a neat idea. Maybe at some point we'll talk about cribbage players you think that could be a good play-by-play announcer.
All right.
But you're more of a baseball guy than I am, so I just a guess, but I'm going to guess your list is going to end up a little flush with baseball guys. I know I have a handful of. I got a lot of sports on mine. Like, I think I've got most sports covered, but I do have the nickel of glory here,
All right.
nickel of destiny, and I'm gonna flip it and let you call it here. So,
Heads.
right, and it is a tail.
Okay.
There's a tail there. I feel like I could easily just defer this week, but I feel like there's one I kind of want. I think it would annoy me if somehow you took this person, so I'll go ahead and go first. For those who aren't sports fans, I feel like this draft might, this might be a, skip button kind of thing, or we'll try to, like, teach this. We're not gonna have clips of these people because I don't know about, like, copyright things or whatever it is. But my first pick, I'm gonna take Kevin Harlan. Do you even know who Kevin Harlan is?
I've heard of him. Is he basketball?
So he does football and basketball. I
Okay.
think maybe he might be best known for basketball, but he also does, like, NFL. Like, I remember he also does, like, radio too, like, of some of the, like, primetime games. And I remember my favorite clip of him. Anybody go find this? There was, like, a fan running on the field, and he's on radio, right? And he gives play by play of that. He's like, the fans at the 30, the fans at the 20. He's about to get arrested. He must be really drunk. He's your kind of your classic like anchorman guy. I don't know, just a good voice. Like he's funny. I feel like he's interesting. He brings something to the table without making it about him. And that's a big thing for me in broadcasters is the ones that make it about them drive me insane. Like some people love that stuff, but the ones, and who knows, maybe your list is like full of these, but I feel like he's good about those. I'm sure there's like lots of YouTubes about Kevin Harlan for those that don't, I don't know, aren't super familiar. So Kevin Harlan's my first pick. He's like the must that I had to have on my list.
All right. Normally, I would go very strategic here and, take the guys I think I might get sniped towards the top.
There's not going to
Just,
be a lot of overlap here, is my
just
guess. So, but
yeah.
please go ahead.
But regardless, this time I'm just gonna take. I know there's no chance you would have went with this guy, and but I'm taking him with my first pick just because I think he truly is the greatest of all time when it comes to play by play. I would say 90% of the audience probably hasn't heard of him, but he was the play-by-play guy for HBO boxing, and his name is Jim Lampley.
Ooh, that is a
And
fantastic pick.
yeah, and Joe Buck isn't going to be on my list, but I think Joe Buck is great. And the advantage he has is, let's say it's the last inning of a World Series, and most of the time it's not going to be super close. One team's going to be up. You basically
Right.
know how it's going to go. So he's got a long time to think of his closing line, at the climax of the win. Jim Lampley has milliseconds because boxing is so fast paced. You don't know when it's going to end. It could end on one punch. It could go the full distance, and the judges will give the decision. And his voice is dramatic. He's a wordsmith. Like, just everything just flows, and he just paints a perfect picture. And he did have Larry Merchant working with him, who was phenomenal
He
in
was
his
always
own right.
hilarious. That video of Larry Merchant and
Floyd
who's it
Mayweather.
against Floyd Mayweather
Yeah,
is
yeah,
fantastic. It's just like so self-effacing and funny, but also like he's giving it as good as he's getting. I suggest anybody look that up on YouTube. Like this will be a very YouTube centric like list here. But all right, great
yeah.
call on Lampley. I did not have him on my list, but if I thought of him, I think I would have. So nicely done.
Okay. And I get another one.
Yes.
Um, all right. I'm gonna go with my one baseball guy, and he no longer is the voice of the Boston Red Sox, and he hasn't been since 2015. Very controversially, his contract was not renewed. And he now has since been with the San Diego Padres. That's Don Orsillo. And he's another guy, very dramatic voice, tons of highlight reel type stuff can be found. But the other thing about him is he's just funny. He's just like, random stuff happens. Like, there was an infamous thing where this one fan threw a giant pizza at another fan because he
I
interfered
remember
with a
that
foul
one.
ball. Yeah.
Mhm.
Another one, this isn't super appropriate, but it's, something he's known for. This one fan did a boob grab on his girlfriend, and it's not like it's not as obscene as it sounds, I guess, is what I'm saying. But it was just so funny to listen to Don and Jerry kind of call that, and then like 30 seconds of silence as they're trying to compose themselves, and then they're like, and a strike up and then they just start laughing again, like seventh graders. And I don't know, it was just, there were just so many fun things, and they talk about something weird that happened in the airport, you know, and there were some painful Red Sox seasons in there, and Don Orsillo could still make it entertaining even when it's August and you're not even going to come close to the playoffs. So, and he's done some playoff work for TBS. He's been their lead play-by-play guy on and off. I think Brian Anderson is the guy now, but But anyway, yeah, Orsillo is number 2.
Was he TV or radio or both or like
He was TV.
okay.
And another thing I'd like to add is the Padres are like top 2 or 3, like as a crew. So he's one of the most highly rated guys in Major League Baseball.
Okay. Yeah, there's like an art to the broadcast, and right, without commentary on like I haven't seen this one at like the boot grab or whatever you're calling it, but I do adore. I think everybody loves it when there's like a broadcast team, and for whatever reason, and we've all had this happen in our lives, especially in times when it's like inappropriate or whatever it is, right? When you get the giggles and you're just trying to hold it together. Um, I actually had that happen at at my grandmother's funeral. Like there was like 3 or 4 of us that like got the giggles during the service, just trying to like hold it together and like just hold, tears streaming down your face, which luckily at like a funeral, right? You can kind of pull it off as like, oh, it's something else. Oh, pretend that you're crying or whatever it is. But yeah, and broadcasting that works out great too. All right. So you
Wait,
took
fun fact, real quick. I can't be a
yes.
pallbearer at anyone's funeral because I will laugh my ass off the whole way down. It's just like I don't know how to act in a, in a serious situation. So I'll purposely ask family, please don't include me in that.
It's
So
almost like a justice sometimes, right? When it's like I feel like if I, for the record, I'm like anti-funeral and this and that, but like if I can have people like laughing at mine, I feel like that's how I'd want it. I don't want this like solemn like whatever it is, like let's talk about the stories and do the things. Okay, all right. So I have my next 2 here, and again I'm just gonna like pick the ones I want here. I'm not gonna go strategic with any of these. Um, is I don't think there's any of these that you're gonna steal. I'm actually the one of the ones I'm gonna take here is probably best known for baseball. And it's funny you mentioned the San Diego Padres because he's the longtime voice of the Padres, and that is Dick Enberg. I don't know if you
okay.
being a baseball guy,
A little familiar, yeah.
and again, kind of an old school uh, guy, real dry, right? Like was not going to make himself the star, but just like did the job, had the golden voice. I felt like he was able to talk and just which is probably a good requirement for a broadcaster, right? Like I don't know how to use these words like super well, which maybe doesn't make me a great broadcaster, but here we are. It's what we're doing. But I feel like he's the guy that could just like paint the picture of what's happening and did not need to again be the star or he would like raise his voice when appropriate. And he would do baseball. I know he would do like football for I think it was NBC forever and this and that. But just one of these classic broadcaster types just did the job and did it well. And I know he did stuff with the Padres like forever. So I don't know if Orsillo took his spot when he retired, passed away, whatever it was. But yeah, I felt like Enberg was really, really good at his job. So and let's see, I have another one here. Who do I want? You know what? Again going like classic on this one. I'm gonna take Marv Albert for my third one.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
like just again, right? So many like phrases that he had, like yes, and it. I mean, who hasn't done like a Marv Albert impersonation? And the voice of I feel like he did like everything right. He did all the sports, but I feel like the 90s NBA is what I think of when I think of Marv Albert with like doing like Jordan and Magic and all those years. And that's to me that's like the golden era of basketball. I hated Jordan. I was certified Michael Jordan hater,
Me too.
but yeah, same, right? And but it's like it felt special and right when like Marv Albert was doing the games. So like he to me is just really, really, really excellent at his job. Like able to be enthusiastic, able to even have the catchphrases, but was not over the top and just again, yes, and it counts. Like it's again, I crazy to think of any sports cat or any sports fan that hasn't broken out of Marv Albert at some point.
Yeah, I know him from I think he was with TNT for a little while, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a solid pick. My last 2, I have to go with a NASCAR
Ooh, okay.
voice because it was my first sport. And this guy just passed away in the last couple of years. I think he was in his late 80s, and he hadn't been doing much for I think the last 15 years or so. But that's Ken Squire. And the interesting thing is NASCAR's a southern redneck sport, and he was broadcasting not quite in the earliest days, but by the mid to late 70s, he was a fixture. I think especially with CBS Sports, and he's a northern guy, so it's interesting that they went with him. He probably has the most dramatic voice I've ever heard. I can't even describe it. It's dramatic. He's got a golden voice. Some of the most iconic moments in the history of sport were narrated by him. And one of them was the infamous fight at the end of the 1979 Daytona 500. Bobby Allison and Donnie Allison wrecked on the track and then got into a fist fight. And so and he covered that. And when Dale Earnhardt finally won the Daytona 500 after 20 tries, after just blowing it year after year, so many second place finishes, Ken Squire was the guy in victory lane with him doing the interview. So yeah, I couldn't have a top 4 without him being on it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'm familiar with like some of the calls and this and that, like, but certainly not as much as you are. Okay, so all right, and you got one last pick here. Who are you gonna wow me with this time?
It's if there's an outside the box pick, it's probably this one. And I'm going with a WWE play-by-play guy.
Right,
And
I feel like there's almost more skill in like calling wrestling stuff than there is like some of the sports things. But go
right,
ahead. Who you got for
but
this one?
because you're literally telling a story, and that's Jim Ross. He was kind of the redneck sounding guy with the cowboy hat. The Attitude Era is the most popular era in wrestling history. That's when The Rock rose to prominence, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels was in that. Bret Hart kind of had the Montreal screw job towards the beginning of it, but Jim Ross was the play-by-play guy through that, and then the Ruthless Aggression era, which came immediately after, which was still a popular time. And again, another guy who is very dramatic. That's the thing for me. I need drama. I need that dramatic voice to narrate whatever the epic moment is. And with wrestling being fake, he just made it seem so real in a way, even though we all know. But
What?
um,
What are you talking about? Like, I don't.
so yeah. So anyway, he's I got my whole childhood covered here. And so he's number 4 on my list.
You know, a lot of really good. Like, I watched wrestling in that era, and what is it? You have a lot of good like sayings, like "tough as a $2 steak" and things like that.
Yeah.
Just the best broadcasters, right? For any sport, for any person, they just make the moment feel bigger when you hear their voice on it. And it's not a I don't think it's a pitch thing. I don't think you have to have this like dulcet, deep voice tone. It's just they add to it rather than subtracting from it. And it just feels different because of it. Okay. Great. I pondered having like a wrestling guy on there, but I was trying to like find other ones. One thing I'll note on this is, and it kind of speaks to the industry of sports in that there are no women broadcasters on our list, and I do feel like I hate that women in so many of these have been relegated to like certain roles, like reporter, right? Is a lot of times like that role, and but I feel like there is not yet, at least that I can think of, like a woman broadcaster that is like the like one to me. And it's there are some I think there are some good ones, but I'd like to see like them given more opportunities, especially in like male sports or whatever. I feel like so often it's like, oh, okay, it's a woman, so she does like women's sports. So I don't know if I feel like I want to make sure the words on this one come out well on that. But I felt a little weird not having a woman on my list. All right, for my last pick, gosh, I've got like 4 or 5 of them that I can go with, and I don't want to say like the same thing about every single one of them. Um, I'm gonna take Joe Buck as my last pick. Which is I know he's a very controversial like broadcaster. He's kind of love him or hate him. I like his personality. He one of these guys that just is kind of understated and lets the moment be the star and can use very few words and still make it work. Sometimes like less is more. And he's able to let the moment breathe a little bit and just let it stand for itself. He's not without his controversy. It's funny. You look back now on there's a very famous football clip from Joe Buck. It's like a playoff game where Randy Moss like fakes mooning the fans in Green Bay. It was kind of post like the Janet Jackson era, and so he got real up on his like high horse. He's like, "What a disgusting act!" But I still feel like otherwise he's just very very good at what he does, and I feel like so many people hate Joe Buck that it's like no, he's a guy that like does the job. He does the job and he does it well, and he makes something that is often difficult look pretty easy. So I don't know. I've also been in like broadcasting for so long, and like clearly I have a style that I like different than other people, but also it's gonna affect me in the ones that were like cool to me versus the ones that were like a-holes. And like Joe Buck, I dealt with him a couple times. He was pretty cool.
I've always gotten that vibe from him, and he would have been on my list had I not gone with Orsillo. I like him a lot. I think Joe Davis, who's been doing the World Series since Joe Buck, I think he's been good, and I do like him. But I miss Joe Buck. Like there'll never be another person to me as good as him covering the World Series. And my favorite call, I think I've told you this, my favorite ever non-Red Sox call in a playoff game was when Jose Altuve hit a walk-off home run off of Aroldis Chapman. So it was Astros versus Yankees. And Joe Buck, that was just such an epic call. Like it was a really dramatic moment, and us Red Sox fans were glued to it because we didn't want the Yankees to win and go to the World Series and possibly win it. So just rooting for the Astros. And so that was technically the ALCS in 2019, but man, it was just so epic. And he obviously called all 4 Red Sox championships as well, and did pretty good with those. The 2013 ending was my favorite of them all, but
He's good at and again like he'll raise his voice when he needs to, right? When the moment like dictates it. But the ones that just go so hard all the time. Like I hate Gus Johnson, which is like a broadcaster that like does a lot of college sports, and he'll just scream over like the most like random like things, and people go crazy about it being like, oh my god, he's so excited. And it's just, to me it feels contrived, and it's like he is trying to create these moments, and I feel like a lot of broadcasters do that stuff now.
okay.
I had some other ones on my list. There's no reason to go through like all of them. Doc Emmerich in hockey might be one I'd bring up. And I feel like this was one that maybe I didn't think of until just now. But Lon McCarron, do you know who that is?
I do, from ESPN Poker. That's how I know him anyway.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
he's pretty good at that. And like those ones, they're not calling live; they are watching. Like it's so some of it can be a little mapped out, but I feel like he just is interesting enough and can give some levity and have the right words for the moments and kind of play off of Norman Chad, who by the way knows how to play cribbage. I have interacted with Norman Chad on social
Oh,
media and tried to like talk him into coming to a cribbage tournament before.
okay.
That's to be determined on that one. Hadn't happened yet. I don't know if we can write that check, but I feel like
Yeah.
he's pretty good at his job on that. Anybody else on your list that's like worth mentioning?
No, I had all 4. I was pretty confident you weren't going to pick any of those. So,
Ooh, had no backups. Okay, all right, gutsy. All right, that's I mean I'm trying to think.
I
Bottle Lampley, he
could have
might have
come up
made my
with
list. Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure you could have pulled somebody, especially as much as you like baseball,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's
Yeah.
lots of baseball podcasters. Just for those listening who are baseball nuts, give me like 3 or 4 baseball ones that you like, and give me like 2 or 3 that you specifically do not like.
Okay. I
Don't go too
mentioned
deep, like but just off the top of your head.
Well, Brian Anderson, I mean, and he does playoff related stuff, but I was watching the Brewers for a little while because the Red Sox weren't in it in some years, and I just kind of like the Brewers for some reason. But he's their play by play guy. Um, oh, I forget his name. The Orioles have a really good one, and Kevin, I want to say Kevin Anderson, but I could be wrong. But I'd be paying attention to them because they were not this year, but the previous 2 years were were playoff. I think they were the number one seed actually 2 years ago. He got suspended for just being critical about the team, nothing like over the top, but so I just thought that was bad. Baseball, I don't know if there's any I don't like. I mean, even Michael Kay I find to be really good with the Yankees on the Yes Network. But I mean, Harry Carey didn't do it for me back in the day. I mean, I
Yeah,
know he's
he
the
was like funny. He was like a caricature, right? Like
yeah, a cartoon type guy. But if I was a Cubs fan for 162 games, do I want to hear that? I don't know. And I'll tell you what, I don't like the current Red Sox guy, Dave O'Brien. I just
oh, all right.
boring, and I'm just annoyed that they really thought he would be better than Orsillo, and that just blew up in their faces big time. But they still have him, and I don't really care for him.
We did a thing. So I worked on the baseball channel on when it was just XM Radio. It was kind of before there was the merger, and I worked on the morning show. And one of the things we would do is like my favorite thing that we did. We did it every show. Is the last segment of the show. We would play home run calls, like not necessarily home run calls, but calls where it was usually from like the opposing team and the broadcasters. It was radio, not television, right? And the broadcasters would give such god awful, like dog shit calls because they were being such like hardcore homers. And we played it under the song "I'm So Excited" by the Pointer Sisters. And so it'd
Okay.
be like, "Here's a drive and it's a home run." And just playing it under that, and we just used to laugh so hard at those things. Just the broadcasters were so bad about it. There were some that just off the top of my head. And again, it's radio, not television. Like, what is it? Tom Hamilton of the Indians and some of these other guys just would be so excited about home runs for like one team, but then when it happened against their team, they're just, and I know they're supposed to homer up. They work for the team, et cetera, et cetera. But some of those just always made me crack up. So
Mhm.
all right. So let's hit the mailbag here. Just a couple this week with everybody running off for the holidays. Had one come in literally while we were recording last week's show from Canadian Journal. Actually, that one's just a hand, so we will save that for the actual one. But apparently, details forthcoming. I know we've got to talk about it with Jordan about the competitive cribbage podcast long match, which tentatively we're going to start after the new year, after the holidays are over and all that good stuff. So again, credit as always to Jordan for, I don't know, in advance for all the BS he's going to have to put through on that one. I still like the idea of doing a live draw here on the show and just talking about like what we do with that. So if you're interested in those, please go ahead and just email us, cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. In fact, we do have our first official entry into that one. We did have someone email that. Any guesses to who it is?
I think I saw it when I was trying to email you the link.
Oh,
Megan player.
yes. Megan Player is officially in. I feel like we should like slow release who's like joining the long match, right? Like, it's, build some drama for everybody. Yes. So Megan is in. Very, very tricky, difficult player. Hopefully we will have a nice little showing from those in these. Okay. Also another email. Hey guys, I always felt that although I understand the seeding process for MRPs, there needed to be a reward for those with the higher seeding in their match play. Example, in a clean 16 player bracket, one plays 16, two plays 15, etc. We've seen 16 seeds knock off the one seed very often. What if the higher seeds in at least the first round had the deal in games 1 and 2? And then the lower seed had the deal in games 3 and 4. And lastly, if it goes to game 5, the higher seed deals, kind of like sports and home field advantage. Conti can be higher seed deals game 1, then it's loser deals. If a player received bye into the second round, that is their reward, and then it would be cut for deal. But all first round matches that don't receive buys follow the suggested format. I believe this would give slight advantage to the higher seed they earned and should be given. Keep up the good work. Doogie, hashtag Team Terry. Well, that's thank you for the email, Doogie. Let me find the block button here. It's an interesting take on the advantage to get the higher seed, right? Like I just thought you give them the deck in game 1. I think it kind of works out the same, but that's another kind of way to go about it. He mentions first round only in particular. Like I want it for the whole event, but I feel like that's unlikely to ever get passed.
I like Doogie's idea as it was presented, so I would support that.
Take that over the current status. I'll say that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so hard to know where you're going to land. I mean, sometimes when you have a high card, obviously you're probably going to have a buy and hence be the higher seed, but or not even have a buy, but still be a higher seed. So I don't know, but I kind of like the better players, at least for that tournament, to have an advantage.
Yeah, there's got to be like somebody who is more math inclined than I am, which is not a. I think I'm pretty good with math, but I wonder if there's like a percent, right? Like, should the higher seed be 60-40? Like if you were going to engineer it, right, so that the higher seed wins X percent of the time, like what percent do you think you would want that to be? Right, like so like buys in or like in home field advantage and say like baseball, right? You're a baseball guy, right? In a 3 out of 5, the home team probably wins. I don't know, 60% of the time, 65% of the time, because they're the higher seed. So in theory, the better team, but also home field advantage. I'm just curious if there's a number you had in mind. Would you rather the higher seed win like 2 out of 3? Is that too much?
I think 60-40, is a little high also. I don't know.
Okay.
I was thinking
Because
maybe 56-58.
okay, I think that's reasonable. I know Chris Bailey ran some numbers for me once, and it was like much lower than you would think if you gave the dealer or the higher seed like the deck. Starting, it was like 53% for 3 out of 5 and like 52% for 2 out of 3 or something along those lines. So
That's
just
interesting.
yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like especially in a con, like I feel like you like sit down to play somebody and then you lose the deal and you're like, well, great. Now what? But of course, right. It's not the end of the world. Anybody can win games, dealer or non-dealer. But I think you're onto something with like 56-58%. I feel like that's, but and it's like I wonder if you just had like the higher seeds start with like 5-0 or something like that. You just start in hole 5 in each of the games or something like that is a way to go about it. Or I don't know. There's something to do. So. All right. And what is it? One last email, and it was just the one from Megan saying she wants to be in the long match. So, all right. Inbox is a little slacking, folks. Cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. Give your thoughts on, I don't know, the draft, any of this stuff we're talking about. Like, I do want to have like a show at some point where we talk about side games, just variations, ways that you like to play. Maybe we stumble into some fun ones. Did you ever hear they did it once? I heard they had a tournament where it was like they called it like contract cribbage or something like that, but it's like everybody got the same hands and then you like moved seats. And so the theory was everybody's getting the same cards and it's like the most you make of it. Is
Hmm.
that a new thing? Did you ever hear about that one?
No, in Raleigh in the spring, I think they did a satellite where each game was different. So one game fives automatically get thrown to the crib. Another game
Ooh.
was like it was called low ball or something like that, where you try to get the fewest amount of points. You don't play to 121 though, if I'm not
Ooh,
mistaken.
that'd
It's
be
a
a
short.
long game. Yeah, like
Yeah,
61 or something like that. Yeah.
it's a shorter game, but they came up with I think it was 6 or 7 different games or whatever, and, I don't know if the April Flyer's out yet, it might be, and, so check that for Raleigh if you're wanting to try something freaky. I don't know if they're doing it again. I didn't do it because I just can't. I don't wanna corrupt my, my algorithms.
Yeah, your brain is just too pure for those things. I have played no score or Leaster or whatever you call it for on the side at club if you're just waiting for a game or something like that. Maybe you have a new player, it's maybe a little slow or something like that. And it is interesting to try to like change gears, right? Like playing this side game where you're trying not to score. There's like different pegging elements to trying not to score,
Right.
right? Like, and then you sit down and try to play a regular game, and you're like, oh, I gotta like reset my brain and recenter myself and make sure I'm not like, throwing the fives away, trying to screw the other person and this and that. So it's just side way to do that. Okay.
The daily cribbage hand on Cribbage Pro was messing with me bad. The daily scrimmage or whatever, where everybody has the same exact hand and whoever wins by the biggest spread wins the day.
Mhm.
Like, for some reason, it was messing with me so bad at tournaments because I was uncharacteristically playing defense in certain spots, and I had to stop playing it. But
All
yeah.
right. On to the hands here. So thank you everybody who submitted hands this week. I did not play any cribbage, not a hand, while I was away. Maybe that was a good idea. Take a little break, but so we just got a handful for y'all today. So this one came from Canadian Jordan. Uh, and I feel like there's a little nuance to this one. So let me again, for those not watching on YouTube or just listening, maybe take a little pause after you give the hands to set up the position, throw the cards out there, give you a chance to run through these. Hit the pause button if you're driving. Good Lord, please don't break out a board and cards. So we'll try to draw the picture for it as best as we can here. Okay, so this is one of those. It's your crib. So I still like credit to David Hayes, by the way, for correcting the screen on here. It says you are the dealer. Still feels like the Maury Povich show to me, but you are the dealer. So you are in hole 78. Your opponent is first count in hole 63, and the hand is 4 4 5 5 10 queen. Now, in almost all cases, this would be a very easy throw. But Jordan brings up the question: would you ever consider in this spot holding 4 4 5 5 for the pull at 24 to try to get the skunk? So I I think we both agree that you would almost never do that. But if you're playing and you have to have a skunk, maybe give it a little thought here. Like I know my answer to it, but what says you, Terry? Like this is puzzle is solely with the thought of trying to pull for the skunk. What do you think in a spot like this?
I guess if it's game 20, 21, or 22, I probably would be tempted to do it. Would I do it in game 8 of a 22 gamer? Probably not. And I think, excuse me, the thing to consider here is, um, I think you're still going to be out of position even if you hit your 24 hand. Because that brings you to, let's see, the 102 hole, but you're guaranteed the 1 point. So I guess you're guaranteed to be to 103. And then so you'd have to have a decent enough crib to at least get to 110. I
And right, queen 10 in the crib with the 6 cut,
Probably isn't gonna
right?
help. So I just, people fall in love with flushes a lot, and, and I just think this is a hand where typically you have to just be conventional.
Fall in love. Well, there's no flush here, right?
No,
Like I'm
I
not saying
know,
what's
but
wrong,
I
but
just saying in other situations for the people will do it for the novelty of holding it, and I'm
okay.
like, that's just kinda dumb. But yeah, so I mean, if a 24 hand is going to thrill you, then go ahead and do it. But I don't know. I just don't think it plays well. And some skunks just kind of materialize on their own. It's usually a string of circumstances, but you could still get a skunk holding 5-5, 10 queen, and you could still have a decent crib throwing 4-4.
Yeah, I agree with you all around on this one. Mark this down as an agree. Like I I think if I was, I think I'd have to be like closer to, and I don't even know if I would do it then. If I was in the whole like 85 or something like that, then I think maybe you can make the case for holding the 4-4-5-5. But this far back at 78, your point is well taken there, right? Like even if you cut the six, it's some real good things still have to happen in order for that to happen. So yeah, I'd rather just hold the 5-5-10 queen in almost every spot. Maybe you cut a five, right? Cut a five, you got a 20 hand there, and you've got 4-4-5 in the crib. That to me is the picture of how this one is more often than not, like converting the skunk. To be honest, converting the skunk in a game like this is far more about my opponent's hand than mine at this stage, just because, yeah, trying to get 43 holes from three hands, that's a long way to go. So, all right, thank you for Jordan on that one. That's again, like that's one of those I'd like to, one of these days I want to sit down with either Voldemort or Eric Locke or Brian Gurdon or one of these and just play like a series of games and just but have running commentary throughout. Like, here's what you were thinking this and what I was thinking that. And it's like, okay, is this a point where I would think about a skunk, or like what is going through your head in moments like these, right? At what point do you convert into that mode? So, all right, thank you, Jordan, for that one. And let's jump to the next one. And this is from Keith Bryant. You said submitted that. Is that
Yeah, he sent it to me via text, and we kind of hashed it out, but I thought it was good enough to put on the show.
okay? All right. Well, it's your hand, so I'll let you give the description here.
Okay, so you're tied 45-45 in the 45 hole. You are the pwn here, and not a desirable position for you as the pwn, and you are dealt 3-3, 5-6, 7-8.
Okay. I think for me, this is, uh, I think there's two roads I would consider here, which would be 3-8 and 6-8. This is a classic defense spot for me. There's just no way I'm getting anywhere near hole 69, no matter what. If I see the cut card, there's not really a whole lot of ways to get there. Um, I think I'm just throwing 3-6 here and moving on to the next hand, leading the three in almost all the spots. Like I wouldn't love it if my three were paired in this place, but that feels 6-8 in this place seems a little more risky than I'm willing to be. Where I can just throw a pretty safe 3-6, and again, right, I know where two of the threes are. Feels less likely that one of those are going to come out. So I think I'm throwing 3-6 here. Or pardon me,
Honestly,
three. I'm sorry, I said
3-8.
that wrong. 3-8, not
Yeah,
3-6, 3-8. Just for anybody listening.
you
So
said it
3-8.
correctly earlier, just so you know. So you're
Yeah.
good on that. Um, all right. Honestly, I never even considered 3-8. I don't. It just never popped into my mind. But that's a very viable play. I think when I was talking to Keith, I was leaning 6-8. I'll have to go back and check. Because I don't remember, but I think I would chuck the threes here. I would just keep the biggest possible hand and pedal to the metal. Try to, I mean, if you get your cut, your 7 or your 8, you can get to the 60 hole. So that's just too tempting to break it up. And I feel like if I can avoid a deuce in the crib, chances are I'm going to be okay with the threes.
Oof. This one just takes my breath away here. Like I just I know you're an aggressive player, but this,
Yeah.
I mean, from a positional standpoint, right? Forget about the hand, right? This position, at least to me, like screen, like this is about the spot where I start, position can dictate some of the play, right? This is like kind of an all defense spot, is it not? Right? The dealer is literally, depending on which system you play, dead on the number. So I'm not really dying to trade points here, and you're essentially doing that by throwing the threes, right? Like you're holding a guaranteed 6 and you're throwing away 2. Um, I at least for the element of how you see this, is that is right? Am I seeing that part of it right the way you do? Like this is a defense spot, is it not?
Typically, I would say yes, and maybe 100% of the time it could be, but I don't know. I feel like I got a good chance to, you know, not really get into position on the next hand, but another decent hand after that would get me into position, and I would, from a pegging standpoint, I would take all that I could get. I mean, that's what I do. I take, as a cribbage player, and a lot of times I feel like I can manufacture a win that otherwise would have been a loss. So I'm just willing to risk it here, I guess.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree on all of them, right? As we well documented. I think it was what 20-17 or something by the end of it last time, or this or
21
that.
to 17. Yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
what the
Okay.
total is after.
Not. I want to count this as 2 disagreements, because I see this one quite differently than you. Again, by the way, we never get answers on these. I would love to get more uh, like reader listener feedback on these. Like go ahead and email cribbagepodcast@gmail.com and tell me how right I am and how wrong Terry is. Or, beware. Maybe that's why we're not getting so many emails anymore. I have so many like people that agree with you blocked that I'm just not getting them anymore. I know for a little while, like Megan Player's emails weren't going through. They were somehow going to like the spam folder. And I think
Oh,
I told her at some point that she was blocked. But all right, let's hit the next one here. All right, so this is a Terry hand here. It's Terry special. So I'm gonna let you go ahead.
okay. I had this one on Cribbage Pro during the competitive matchmaking thing. So there is a flush here, and I should give the position. So I am pwned in the 112 hole. My opponent is in the 115 hole. So it's kind of a do or die hand here. If you don't go out, you're not going to win the game 99% of the time. So their crib, you're holding ace 2, 4, 6, 10, 10, and you can hold a flush, which would be 2, 4, 6, 10.
Okay. To me, this one's pretty cut and dried. I'm holding ace 4, 10, 10. Being 9 out, I feel pretty confident. Over half the deck gets me 8 points here. There's, what is it, ace 4, 5, and 10 all put me out without having to worry about any holes. And if I cut to 8, I feel pretty decent about leading my ace and not like either my opponent pegging out on me, but also being able to get the one hole I need in order to win that game. So I'll live with it when I cut one of the, what is it, the 2, the 3, the 6, 7, 8, 9. That's about half the deck. Like I'll live with it. The times I miss that one, and even if I do, yeah, I had an outside shot at pegging 3. Um, so I think to me the flush is, you mentioned like an unnecessary flush, if you will. This to me would be one of those spots. Like I'm just not willing to give up 2 points. It's such an essential place.
So I went the same way. I kept the ace 4, 10, 10 also. And but the thing that made it uncomfortable to me was I wasn't confident I could score 3 points on it. I felt like I could probably score 2, but I don't know if I could get that extra point had I just missed the cut. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I
you miss a
found it
cut, you lose this one much more often than not. But say probably the same thing with the flush too.
yeah, as you go through the outs there, you definitely have more outs. Um, yeah, I mean, 2, 4, 6, 10. You any odd card gives you, I guess, what, 6, at least 6 rather.
Yeah, I guess the
But
7 and the ace only get you to 6 or 7 points, depending on if it's a,
a
matching
heart,
card or
yeah,
heart in this case. But right,
yeah,
the 3 and the 5 are much better. Well, the 5's good for either, but right, the 9 is a very good cut. if you're holding the flush in that one. But to me, there's too many misses there. And if you miss this one, right, if I don't get to at least like six, right, you're having to peg like five with a hand like that. Ooh, I mean, it happens sometimes, right? But I feel like that's going to be a real tough sled to try to get that many points in pegging.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was an uncomfortable hand, so that's why I kind of put it on there.
All right, mark it down as an agree. Not redeemed yourself because you still got ways to go with that holding the threes there, throwing the threes, but we'll let you live. All right, it's the last one. This is another Terry hand. Please go right ahead.
Yeah, another weird one in a late game situation here. So pwn again, no flush this time, and you are dealt 3, 4, 9, 9, 10, 10. So again, you're in the 114 hole, so 7 points out. Opponent is in the 102 hole, 19 out.
Hmm.
How do you like this one?
This one's tricky. I'm glad the opponent is in 102. This is one of these, right? You end up in a spot in the game, your first count from seven out, and you feel like more often than not, you're going to get there. You're going to pick up the cards. It's going to be okay. And sometimes when the dealer's like 10 or 11 out, you pick this one up and you go, oh God, this win is going to turn into a loss on me. You got to be kidding me. I think I like 3, 4, 9, 9 here. And this is one of these, I could be convinced that I'm wrong. I could be swayed. Um, like the tens are a little risky here with my opponent dealing at 102. You could just kind of punt this one, like throw like 10-4 and just try to move on to another hand. In fact, I'm almost like talking myself into 10-4 at this spot. But I think I like 3, 4, 9, 9 in that, right? The 2, the 3 gets me out. The 6 gets me to one hole away. I just think I'd rather hold it in that manner. There's still plenty of misses, right? What a clunker of a hand to pick up at an important time. Because what is it? The ace, the 5, the 7, and any of the face cards miss you completely there. But I feel like at this point in a spot like this, my goal is to try to push down the board as much as I can to hopefully, assuming I missed a cut, peg out on the next hand. But I would hear someone out with 3, 9, 9, 10 in this spot.
Okay, so that's your hold 3, 9, 9, 10.
No, 3, 4, 9, 9
Oh,
is my hold, but I'm saying
okay.
I could be convinced to if I'm gonna do it in a second place, like a strong second place is to throw 10-4 and hold 3, 9, 9, 10. Like I just 3, 4 to me is a little risky, and there's just not a lot of cuts that I'm thrilled about there. Um, so I think I'm just gonna throw the tens and not be real happy about it. So yeah, that's the final answer.
Okay. I agreed, and it was on Cribbage Pro as well, so I usually assume if I don't know the player, I always feel like I probably have an advantage, and, so I was gonna lead the 9 had I missed and just went for a 5 trap there. But, fortunately, whether I'm right or wrong, we cut a 3, so I at least guessed right and cut into 8, but yeah, that was a tricky one. I wasn't comfortable, throwing the tens there and, but got away with it.
Do you at least agree with the assessment that like the 3, 4 is the one way that I think some people would consider going here, but I don't think you can, right? Seven out. If you hold 3, 9, 9, 10, right, you still get out with the 8 or the jack, just like you would with 9, 9, 10, 10. Like I'm trying to think what you're bringing into versus taking away. I guess this is one of those where it's like, and on Cribbage Pro, you can't do this. I guess we can do this here on the show, right? Just counting the outs is important, right? We always preach that with tournaments. Um, like I'm trying to think what like gets you out with that doesn't with others. I don't know. This is one of these I'm willing to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean, a 6 or a 5 would get you out with 9, 9, 10, 10. So, I mean, you still have a decent number of outs, but I think 3-4 is still dangerous, and I think you could get trapped very easily with 9-9-10-10 as well, and they could easily peg 6 to 8.
If it's a live game, right? If you and you're playing somebody who's, like you feel like is a pretty good player, do you still try to pull the five trap with the? You're not gonna like for me. I think it's the three lead. Just like because I feel like especially good players could very easily pair you on the three lead, right? And I like to have the nine come back, especially if I miss this cut completely, right? Say I throw the tens and we cut like say something kind of neutral, like a seven or an ace or something, right? Like a jack or a queen cut. I'm real worried. It's a little different, but something more neutral, like one of those. Um, like I think I like the three there a lot more.
Um, if I missed it, I don't know. I think I would still lead the night. I don't feel like like you said, a good player might pair me, but I don't think most players are gonna pair it.
I also think that most good players, right? You lead three. If they're not playing a face card on it, you're probably having an eight or a nine come out with it, right? Maybe they play the seven or, like a six is reasonable, plausible too. But like, I feel like I have a few different ways to score on that one versus kind of with the nine. You're putting a lot of your eggs in just kind of one basket of how to score there.
Um, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's
I listen. I understand who I'm speaking to here, which is you are Terry Cushman. You are like Mr. Offense and the way you hold a hand, I feel like it's whether this is like scouting, right? It's that's not to say you're wrong when you do these things, but you are someone that's hard to convince that you're wrong on how you hold a hand. Versus I think I'm a little more willing to like listen. Speaking as the guy that told Dwayne Toll he was wrong about the way to hold a hand. Like I don't think I had the guts to say that to Dwayne in person. Dwayne, you're the man, but I still disagree with you. But I think you're a little more sticky on your holds in these places.
I could be, and it's not that I think I'm right necessarily. It's just what is my comfort zone, and that kind of dictates a lot of things.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. So what's the tally here for today? So we ended up agreeing on this one after all the arguments, just disagree on how to peg it. I think was it 3-1 today?
So far, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's all we have today.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah, a little thin. Yeah, back to the Canadian Jordan one here.
Okay.
So all right. Well, again, send those hands, cribbage podcast at gmail.com. And all the other goodies that we were asking about here. But yeah, Terry, congrats on I mean it, like congrats on the decision to move on further in your life and like kind of, other elements of things. Like it is a very I speaking as someone I was in a job that I hated is too strong of a term, but that I was pretty unhappy with for 11 years. I think I was in this like old job before this one. Like too many people stay in roles that they're just not thrilled about. You think about how much time you spend, right? Like the ratio of how much time I've spent in a cubicle versus at a cribbage board is way out of whack in my life. And I feel like too often we all lose sight of that. Like we all have bills to pay, or like most of us do. Like don't get me wrong, I'd love to be a kept man, a pool boy, whatever you want to call it at some point. But that's not the world in which most of us end up living. Like when I hit the Powerball, I'm gonna put a lot of people out of work. I'll say that. Like maybe you, I'll throw you a couple bucks.
Appreciate
But
that.
but no, man, congrats on that. I hope like future things are good. I hope this current company treats you right as you have in your notice. But it's got to be a little bit freeing, right? Knowing that like you wake up one of these mornings over the next couple of weeks, and if they ask you something you don't want to do, you can just tell them to go to hell, right?
Yeah, I'll work out the notice, and I did tell them in the notice they could work me as much or as little as they would like in the next 5 weeks, and I'll do whatever. But yeah, and then I'll have a couple of months. So like I said, I'll probably do Uber 2 or 3 nights a week just to you know just to make a little bit of money and um play more cribbage, obviously, and then yeah, and then in March it gets busier down here, and I'm sure I'll find something.
I'm waiting for the day, the first time it happens. It may be years from now that this occurs, but I bet there will be a day, one day, when you have like a pickup and it's somebody, they get in the car and they go, "Wait, are you Terry from the competitive cribbage podcast? Is that you?"
It's happened
Uh,
to me one time for the bastards, but I'd be shocked if it was ever if it was cribbage.
one of these days we will. We got to accurately market this show, which we will. Who knows? Stay tuned for gear and other things that maybe one day we want to do on this. So, all right. Well, for all the 29ers, for Terry Cushman, Jason Matheny here from the Mothership in Houston, wishing everybody a great week. Stay warm.